Present.
Mr. Brickway?
Here.
Ms. Hausfeld? Here. Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Here.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Here.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Here.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Present.
Let the record show that all members are present. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to dispense with the regular order of business to have the special council meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
make a motion to dispense with the regular order of business for a special council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld, to dispense with the regular order of business to have the special council meeting to discuss ordinances 8, 9, and 10. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. Clerk, will you please give the second reading of ordinance number 8, 2023?
Ordinance number 8, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the service director to enter into a contract with Fred A. Neiman Company and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the second reading of ordinance number 8, 2023. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to suspend with the third reading of ordinance number 8, 2023.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld to suspend with the third reading of ordinance number 8, 2023. Are there any remarks? Not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance number 8, 2023? Not, clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion?
Mr. Taberkey?
Aye.
Mr. Brickway?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
make a motion to adopt ordinance number 8, 2023.
I'll second that.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to adopt ordinance number 8, 2023. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Taberkey?
Aye.
Mr. Brickway?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Ordinance number 8, 2023 is adopted as read. Before we read ordinance number 9, can I have a motion to amend ordinance number 9, 2023, since it's only had its first reading?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to amend ordinance number 9, 2023.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to amend ordinance 9, 2023. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor
Yeah.
signify by saying aye.
Yes, Mr. President, sorry.
Ms. Brickway?
I just wanted to explain what ordinance 9, 2023 is. This ordinance is asking to transfer $2,600,000 from the general fund transfer out, with $100,000 going into the swimming pool cash account, $300,000 going into the master plan cash account, $700,000 going to capital improvements cash account, $600,000 general bond retirement cash account, and $900,000 into the employee health care cash account. It also provides additional appropriations of $20,000 to 2K2 miscellaneous, and most of that is for the mailer for the charter. Same with the City Hall stationery for $2,100, 5A4. It also has $33,000 to 2K7 for computers, 208C City Hall building maintenance for $36,801, and is that the alarm system, or the fire alarm? The fire alarm system. $249,096.71 into MP9 streets and sewers. We will get 85% of that back. It's for the Orchard Street project, but we have to pay the waterworks bills, and then they will reimburse us. And then 0708 capital improvements for $15,000. This is the money that Chris Sauer with the Recreation Department got the grant for, and so we're putting the money back in there for him to use. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any other remarks from council? All those in favor of the amended version of ordinance number 9, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Clerk, will you give the second reading of ordinance number 9, 2023 as amended?
Ordinance number 9, 2023, authorizing and directing the auditor to transfer funds and provide additional appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the second reading of ordinance number 9, 2023 as amended. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to dispense with the third reading of amended ordinance number 9, 2023.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, seconded by Ms. Housefeld, to suspend to the third reading of ordinance number 9, 2023 as amended. Are there any remarks? Anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 9? If not, clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Brickwig?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
make a motion to adopt ordinance number 9, 2023.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse,
Mr.
seconded.
President, I'm sorry,
Ms. Berkeley.
I just noticed something. Is it too late to? Okay. Insurance.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Housefeld to adopt ordinance number 9, 2023 as amended. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Brickwig?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 9, 2023 as amended is adopted as read. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 10, 2023?
Mr. President,
Ms.
may I address?
Yes.
I just wanted to just a typo error. So I think maybe we need to, we haven't had the first reading, maybe we can amend this.
We have not had the first reading of this one
That's
yet,
correct.
so we can
So
amend it
can
before we
All
read
right,
it.
good. As you'll see under where it says section 1, and then it says A underneath it, that should be a little bit. Because as you can see, it says section 1, we're referencing section 123.01B of the codified ordinances, and it's a typo. I'm sorry, I did not catch it. So I want to correct that, make that a little B. So the A should be a B? The A should be a B. And then this is with regards to the litigation that we're trying to conclude.
Okay, so section 1 starts with section 123.01B, and then B should be below, and then 1 below it. Okay, all right. Gotcha.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberk.
It's B.
mine's got to be in it already.
Oh, yours does? Okay. I apologize, mine didn't.
Okay.
Mine had an A on
Mine
it.
says A.
Apologies if that.
I got the good one. Then.
Mine says A. I just went.
All right,
Do you got a good one down there?
I had an A.
Do you want?
No big deal, I don't, she's got it changed. We're good. All right, clerk, now will you give the first reading of ordinance number 10, 2023?
Ordinance number 10, 2023, an ordinance amending section 123.01B of the codified ordinances of the Village of St. Bernard, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 10, 2023. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
make a motion to dispense with the second and third reading of ordinance number 10, 2023.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Housefeld to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance number 10, 2023. Are there any remarks? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 10? Not.
President, sorry.
Mr. DeBerke.
Tommy, we talked about doing one down at the safety center. We're not going to do that? A display case for oars? No.
It's not in the current ordinance. At least on the online version, let me put it that way, which is what I looked at. And if that's an issue, then obviously we need to address that.
Mr. President?
Mr. Ray Colbert.
Yeah, I think the only specific locations in front of City Hall, I don't know if they just added that down there, but I don't. We did, we voted on it, had it there and at the state. I don't recall that.
I remember asking about it, but I never knew it was done.
Actually, if this is the only place we have to put it, that's fine, but we can still put it down safety.
Right.
That doesn't matter.
All right.
Yes,
We can place it in other places, but
to comply with our present ordinance only requires it on here at the exterior of City Hall.
Excuse me. All right. Any other remarks? Excuse me. Clerk, will you please call the roll on motion to suspend?
Mr. Traverky?
Aye.
Mr. Brickwig?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 10, 2023.
I'll second that.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to adopt ordinance number 10, 2023. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Traverky?
Aye.
Mr. Brickwig?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 10, 2023 is adopted as read. That concludes this special council meeting to discuss those ordinances. At this time, we will go back to the regular committee of the whole meeting. What is council's pleasure on the approval of the written minutes of the March 23rd council meeting? Ms. Bettinghouse?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the written minutes of the March 23rd council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, a second by Ms. Hausfeld to approve the written minutes of the March 23rd council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. I failed to place this on the committee of the whole agenda, but just someone mentioned it beforehand. I had given everybody on council a couple weeks ago a copy of the manual, the protocol, policies and procedures for council with the recent ordinance that just passed. I'll just run through the changes I had, and if council could look these over before the next council meeting, and we can just do a voice vote on, and to adopt them. But on page 2, under A, council meetings, A-3, the old version said 12 hours. We just passed an ordinance a couple weeks ago to make that 24, so we need to change that to 24-hour notice. And then the other two changes are towards the very back. Actually, page 16, under clerk of council. The old version was the electronic recording of the minutes shall be the official recorder, or shall be the official record of the council meetings and committee of the whole. We need to change electronic recording to written. And then on the very last page, page 20, on number 5, it reads, the minutes that are printed and available to residents are not the official record of the meeting. So we need to, I forget how we fix it. Anyway, so it reads that they are not the official record of the meetings, but are a summary of the meeting. While any comment you make will be recorded by tape, then the next line, the next part says, and preserved in the official record. That and preserved in the official record needs to be scratched, and then your comments may not be included in the printed summary. So we'll need to change and take out the and printed, or and preserved in the official record. So like I say, if council could look those over, and if anybody has any other corrections that need to be made, we'll discuss that. I would imagine next committee of the whole should probably be adequate. I'll put it on the agenda for that, but I want to put that out there first. All right. We'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor Jonathan Stucci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start by thanking our Recreation and Service Departments for organizing another great Easter event in the village. We had even more kids out to see the Easter Bunny than we did to see Santa and Mrs. Claus this year while out and about the village. We did not get any calls or complaints, and we managed to keep the Easter Bunny from going off course as people watched us on the Bunny Tracker, so we were making progress. So again, thank you for everyone who made this a great day, and thank you to the community for coming out and participating. On Saturday, April 22nd, Councilman Don Taberky and I will be hosting our annual spring cleanup in conjunction with Earth Day. We will meet in the lower level parking lot where gloves, tongs, and trash bags will be distributed at 10 a.m. We're going to work approximately from 10 a.m. to noon. Any questions, you're welcome to call my cell phone at 513-543-3780. I'd also like to acknowledge the awesome dispatchers from the Hamilton County Communications Center for the work that they do. This week is National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, and today our Fire Chief Brian Young and Engineer Joe Meister took chili to these well-deserving lifesavers. So thank you for everything that you do. I have prepared 2 ordinances that I am asking to be put on the table for the next council meeting. Ordinance 11 for the fire contract and Ordinance 12 for fixing the base compensation for the police and fire chiefs. I would also ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
make a motion, to go into executive session at the end of the meeting for collective bargaining.
Motion by Mr. DeBerke, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld, to go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining. Clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion?
Mr. Tebricki?
Aye.
Mr. Brickway?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schulmeyer.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. Council will go into executive session at the end of this meeting to discuss collective bargaining. That's it. Thank you, sir. Auditor, Ms. Brickway.
Thank you, Mr. President. The March revenue for 2023 was $4,076,640.46. The expenditures for the same period, $3,698,556.58. So our revenues are over our expenditures by $378,083.88. What I was trying to get added to that ordinance, we discussed it weeks ago and it didn't get put into an ordinance, as we need additional funds for the insurance that everybody said okay about. So I'm going to need Mr. Paul's help here. Do you know exactly how I'm trying to, was it 145? Am I remember that correctly? The policy point. Well, he can work on that, but I'm going to need to have an ordinance on the table for next council meeting, and I'm going to take that 20,000 that you just put in miscellaneous and pay part of the insurance, because he already had to wait on this from another, we didn't have enough votes another time, so I want to give him something. So we'll figure out the difference if that's okay, but so we'll be putting 20,000 back into 2K2, and I think maybe 25,000, 36,000 into the insurance line item, if that's okay.
Mr. President, make motion to put orders on the table for Peggy for her appropriations.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Mr. President, make a motion to put ordinance 11 and 12 on the table for next council meeting.
Second that. Aye.
Might help. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. My apologies. I just heard back from one of our outside counsel on a matter approximately 4:30, and then I had a telephone conference call for my day job that went until 6 o'clock. So I did not have a chance to prepare an ordinance for you, but I will need an ordinance on the table for our next council meeting, authorizing signatures on behalf of the various village committees in settlement of ongoing present litigation. So I'll have that prepared for you to look at, but I will need that on the table. And I also need us to go into executive session today to discuss pending litigation. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Mr. President, first the ordinance that Valerie requested for the settlement.
Yes.
Then add the litigation to the reason for going into executive session. Motion to go to executive session for pending litigation.
Motion by Mr. Taberky, second by Ms. Hausfeld, to go into executive session also to discuss pending litigation. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mr. Taberky?
Aye.
Mr. Brickway?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culbertson?
Aye.
Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schildmeyer.
7 ayes, no nays. Council will also discuss pending litigation while we were in executive session. And just for clarification, this ordinance is to settle a lawsuit.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's it for you. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Treasurer, Mr. Unruh.
Thank you,
President.
Mr. President. This evening, I have the statement from Star Ohio. Our account balance with them at the end of March 31st, 2023 totaled $12,624,061.94. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
my memory is just messed up tonight, but I don't think we voted on the ordinance. I tried to make two things at once. You said separate them.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
All right. So, motion by Mr. Taberky, second by Ms. Hausfeld, to place the ordinance on the table for the lawsuit settlement. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. It's been a rough night. I need a raise. All right. That's that. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, we've been keeping a close eye on the garbage cans, so we have made progress. The old model is they've done away with. They're, the head of the company actually traveled down to Charleston to that place, and there's only 2 people that use the cans that we use. So I said we would take the upgraded model. In the meantime, I doubled the order. So we're gonna, I spent the money on trash bags because you remember the plastic trouble we were having, and we had to cut back on that. So I spent that money in that line item. So I'll need an appropriation of $16,000 to cover the new trash cans. She states that they are the same caliber. They're lighter cans, but just as durable. Next on, we've been looking for a dump truck with a lift because our lift is being repaired monthly. And if that goes down, we will not be able to pick up washers, dryers, refrigerators. So we went into national purchasing, and theirs without the lift was 80,000 as close as they come. That's without the lift. So the lift would probably be, in just guesstimating, would be about 10,000. However, we took the fire chief's advice and went to McCluskey. McCluskey has the truck with the lift, exactly what we have now, totaling $63,832. So that's like $17,000 cheaper than what we can get national purchase. Since we did that, we would be okay to buy it from McCluskey. So I would like an appropriation for that, or an ordinance, actually. It takes an ordinance for that, correct? Yes. For that to be put on the table. That
Mr.
concludes my report.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
make motion to ordinance to purchase the dump truck and then the additional, please?
I'll add it to mine.
Okay. She's going to add it to the other one.
Is there a second to the? Motion by Mr. Taberky, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld, to add the $16,000 for the trash cans to the additional appropriation and a separate ordinance for the new dump truck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. President,
Mr. Paul?
I do have one more thing.
Mhm.
We're remodeling, getting ready to. They're already over at the main hall. The main hall's taking approximately 2.5 weeks, so I figured this is probably about the same that it's gonna take in here. I don't know what you wanna do with council. they are a clean company. I've been watching what they do with the hall over there. But if they get in a bind, because we're doing the floor also, and the ceiling, the lights, the tabletops, I don't know what you want to do there. I do know in the past that we did have summer breaks. Is that true?
When we had 4 meetings, we took the 2 in the middle of July
Oh,
off.
okay. So it's up to council. We can, or meet, in the main hall, because it'll be finished by then. But at the end of this month, the main hall will be done, and they'll be starting here in June. I'll get the exact dates. They do realize that the second and fourth Thursday is our day. So now whether they clean up and make it available to us, I'll have to speak to them about that, so. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Mayor.
we've worked with ICRC before in providing, a portable setup with microphones. We could ask them if they could accommodate us and they could do a portable setup. If possible, I think, that early on, we should try, if we can, to try to stay on schedule if possible. And if we can't use this room, use the main hall if we need to, and ask if ICRC could bring the portable equipment that's necessary so that we just utilize that space and stay on schedule for right now, if we can.
I guess, Mr. Paul, if you could update everybody on email and let them know what's going on in here and we'll just kind of roll with it.
Mr. President, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll have the dates, we'll know, and if they can work around it, I'll let you know that also.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Tax Administrator, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the Tax Department's March 2023 end-of-month receipts. Tax collection from March 2023 was $1,909,302. March 2023 is up 8.5% from March 2022. 2023 first quarter has concluded. St. Bernard is up a little over 4% over the 2022 first quarter. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery was $1,133. Delinquent tax collected with the Ohio Attorney General's office was $92,843. Taxes paid through the e-file portal was $3,757.35. And then just a quick reminder, your federal, state, and local, which is your St. Bernard taxes, are all due on April 18th, 2023. That is a Tuesday, and the tax office is open from 9 to 5. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Taberky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just like to thank Troy Myrick and Chief Young for the CPR AED class last Thursday night. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Safety, Mr. Brickwig.
No report as far as safety goes, but I would like to thank the Service Department for putting on a very nice display there for the Easter egg hunt. It was very nice down at the park. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Ms. Hausfeld.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too do not have a report. I've got just a couple things to report on, though. I also want to thank Troy Myrick and Chief Young, but I also want to thank Don Taberky because he's the one that actually got it together, and they are the ones that delivered the CPR training, which was very helpful. I also want to thank the Service Department and the Rec Department for putting on such a nice Easter display. I'm really sorry that I missed it, but I was working, but I've heard from several citizens that always comment about how great that is. I'm going to go a little bit above. I wasn't going to say anything. I'm not going to mention the name of the restaurant, but for those of you that are on my Facebook, I know I said I would mention something because so many people were commenting on my Facebook about how horrible this restaurant is in St. Bernard. If you are on my Facebook and you know which restaurant I'm talking about, you need to call the corporate office and talk to the district managers. We as council, unfortunately, we don't decide which restaurants and stuff that we can have and who stays and who goes. If you have an issue with a restaurant or a business in St. Bernard, I suggest you to get a phone number and call the district manager, which is what I did, and I also talked to somebody else again today. So again, because I said I would mention something on council, particularly about this restaurant, I do want to urge people, because I know there's a lot of bad comments out there about this restaurant, please call district office for this restaurant and hopefully talk to an actual manager there to get something done. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Improvements, Mr. Bob Culbertson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CIC will host their next meeting on the 25th of April in council chambers if it's available. Otherwise, we'll keep you posted if it gets moved to the municipal building. One, on a separate topic, you know, I know we talked a little bit about redoing the track at Lower Ross, and I was seeing, you know, I wanted to get with the rec director just to see, you know, what the status on that is, and then what is the cost. I know we were going out for a grant, but I was down there this week, and the track was in pretty bad shape. So looking at maybe filling, if we could fill that in, or you know, look at replacing it. But that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mayor.
So the recreation director and myself have had discussions about this, and we have a mild difference of opinion on the track itself. So, and we would have to determine whether or not we would just pave it, you know, and actually so that we wouldn't have to deal with the loose gravel and the potholes, that kind of thing, or whether or not we would go with, you know, the actual special surface that a vehicle flat out cannot drive on. So the one thing that, again, yes, I think we need to be conscious of the use and its intention, because ultimately, you know, Roger Bacon and St. Bernard Place Schools would love to have a practice track. There's no way there's the proper dimension for it to be, you know, a true competitive track, but they could practice on it. But at the same time, I also think we need to be conscious of, you know, our residents as well. Yes, I know people aren't supposed to be driving on it and parking off there, but yes, it happens when people go and drop off their items as far as for the shelter rentals. Yes, we could provide, you know, wagons or carts and see if that could work. But I would like to definitely look at the idea of getting, you know, bids on what it would cost to do just a standard asphalt track, and then what it would cost us to actually get the actual shock absorbing surface on top. The grants that we've gone out for, we have actually not been awarded, and it's happened twice. So we are at a point potentially where, if we're wanting to get serious about this, of actually paying for it obviously on our own. So I am very interested in actually looking at a resurfacing project of some sort at Lower Ross. I think it is necessary. And I don't think that, you know, I watch and even if it is asphalt, so be it. But the point being is watching, you know, the St. Bernard Place kids, they're doing track practice around the construction area. And even when there isn't construction, you know, watching them, you know, run out to the parking lot and back around. I would like to provide a better space for the community, for the schools to use, regardless of what our final decision is on the surface. So I'm all forward, moving forward on this.
All right, thank you. Welcome back. Laws, Contracts, and Claims, Ms. Bettinghouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, it's great to be back. I also heard from residents about the Easter egg celebration, and it was phenomenal, and I'm just sorry that I missed it. So again, great job to the village, and I knew about the CPR class, so thanks, Don, for organizing it, and thanks the chief for making it happen. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Marketing, Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Tire Collection Week starts this coming Monday, April 17th, and runs through Friday, April 21st. Please place your tires on the curb on your normal trash day, and the service department will pick them up for you. This is a free service that the village offers 1 week out of the year. Also, on Sunday, April 23rd, Lily Mittendorf will be hosting her annual paint, clothing, and cleaning supplies drive for Matthew 25 Ministries Disaster Relief. The event will take place from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the lower level of City Hall. Please make sure the paint has its label on the can, and they can only accept latex paint. Thanks, Lily, for your hard work on this. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and Industry, Mr. Schultmeyer.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening? If not, I show five ordinances then for the council meeting on April 27th. And at this time, council will go into executive session for collective bargaining talks as well as pending litigation. We will return when we are finished.